So today we're going to go ahead and take a look at photo styles on the G85. Now before we get started, just a few things to keep in mind before we look at some samples. The goal here is really to find a photo style that I can use outdoors without doing any color grading in post. That's really what I'm looking for. So the first thing is I've only looked at standard, natural, and vivid. There are other photo styles. Cine like D and Cine like V are flatter, supposedly better to grade, but that might be up for debate, but I'm not interested in that. And I did some initial tests, and these are the three I sort of landed on. But we're going to look in depth at the sharpness, contrast, and noise reduction, and what those settings actually do with those three modes that I mentioned. The other thing is I did not turn up the saturation on any of them, so the saturation is set to 0 on all of these tests. Camera settings wise, it's going to be 24p at 100 megabits per second. We're going to have 1/50 of a shutter speed, f6.3, ISO 200. I did a manual white balance with a white card, and I think that's about it. Manual focus, of course, and then the subject matter is sort of a view of my back patio. There aren't a ton of different colors, but there's some trees and there's some fine detail. There are some cars moving. There's some foreground objects. So I think it gives a good idea of what these different modes can do and kind of what those settings, when you crank them up or crank them down, what the effect is on the ultimate video quality. Right now, what you're looking at is I'm shooting at standard, -2 contrast, -2 sharpness, and -5 noise reduction. And that's what I've been doing. But now after looking at this video for the outdoor stuff, I'm going to probably take a look at some other modes and some other settings. So why don't we just go ahead and jump in and get started. Okay, so right now we're looking at standard profile with pretty much zeros across the board, which is the default. And you know what? It's not bad. It's pretty good. The foreground objects look good. Color kind of looks decent. Detail in the trees looks okay. So not too bad. Now let's go ahead and take a look at standard with everything cranked up. All right, I can tell you right now, and we'll see this when we zoom in later, but it's just some areas are over sharp, some areas have lost detail, and some areas are just plain out too dark. So cranking everything up is probably a bad idea. Now let's look at standard with kind of my go-to -2, -2, and -5 across the contrast, sharpness, and noise reduction. And it's a lighter picture. I like it. I'm gonna reserve judgment until we actually zoom in a bit, but it's definitely a candidate. Okay, so we've zoomed in now on our first sample, so we're back to the 0, 0, 0. You know, I like the detail in the trees there. I feel like it's not too soft, so, you know, again, good candidate. Now, you can see when we crank everything up, you lose detail, things look jaggedy and kind of unnatural. So, cranking everything up definitely with standard is not a good idea. We're gonna toss this one out, probably not even consider it for kind of our final judgment. And then this is the third one. I have to say, I kind of like the first one better with everything at default of zeros. I feel like it's a little washed out. So let's look at all three of them together, all three of the standard settings that I've just showed you. So I think my pick is the left. It's the 0, 0, 0, 0, which is the default. So that's my pick for standard, but now we're gonna, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these others, like natural and vivid. Okay, so we're looking at natural with, again, defaults. I have to say I really like this one a lot. I'm looking at the foreground and just sort of the different browns and greens and the little details look good, and yet I look up at the trees and I like how those look. Yeah, I don't know, I like it. Okay, here's everything cranked up with natural. Foreground isn't bad, but again, we'll see this later when you zoom in. Cranking all those things up, it turns out, is a probably a bad idea across the board. So I'm not a fan of the top of the trees. They're a little dark. Now here is natural with the -2, -2, -5. Again, it's kind of washed out, especially there in the middle. We'll have to zoom in to really make true judgment, but it's not my top pick. I like the defaults with all zeros. Okay, so here we are all zoomed in with all zeros. I like it. I feel like, you know, I mean, it's going to be soft. We're at 400% zoom, but it's decent and it's not bad. Okay, so here we are, cranked everything up. Yeah, it's not looking good. A lot of those trees just kind of blend together. The leaves are, you know, it's a little dark and things are kind of mushed together. And other things look unnaturally sharp. They kind of have artifacting like on that tree branch or that tree trunk on the right. So, okay, here we are with our -2, -2, and -5. You know, I'm not a fan of it. It's a little kind of soft and kind of light. And yeah, I think I dug the defaults. So let's take a look at the three all together. So I'm just looking at these, and I have to say, again, I like the natural with all zeros, and so that's going to be my pick of these three settings. Let's move on to vivid now. Now, normally I wouldn't say, oh, you know, vivid is a good choice. However, I wanted to do it because I thought, who knows? And I have to say, I like this a lot. So let's reserve judgment, but for outdoors, I'm digging it. Here we are with +5. Really, really bad. You have way too many things that are too dark and other things that are way too light. Again, detail overly sharpened, which, you know, I guess you expect when you crank up the sharpness, but I wanted to see what would happen. Not good. Okay, so here we are with -2, -2, -5. It's good. It's not bad. I want to zoom in though to really see how it compares to the default of zeros across the board for vivid. So, but it's a candidate. Let's go ahead and take a look now. Okay, so here we are zoomed in with the default for vivid, and at 400%, it's good. It's actually quite good. You know, the cars seem like they take a hit, but the trees look pretty good. Here we are with everything cranked up. You know, not good. It's even worse zoomed in. So we're gonna toss that one out, but that's fine. It was an experiment. Wanted to see what would happen. Okay, so next we'll go ahead and take a look at the -2, -2, and -5, and I'm not loving it. Again, this is the third one where I preferred the default settings of 0, 0, 0, 0. So next, let's go ahead and compare the vivids together. So I'm just looking at these and immediately I'm drawn to the left side. The middle, we're tossing out the right. Again, I feel like you right in the middle there with the trees on the right hand side one, you lose some things. So again, I picked the default of all zeros for vivid. Okay, so let's compare them now together. Natural, standard, and vivid, all zeros. I have to say, loving the vivid for outdoors at least. So that's going to be my pick. I'd say start with that and maybe crank down the noise reduction. So hopefully that helps. Okay, so here are my thoughts on photo styles with the G85. I have to say, I think vivid for outdoors is what I'm going to probably start with as I shoot more outdoors. And I will probably crank down the noise reduction a bit, possibly even sharpness a bit, but I'm going to start at zeros and just kind of start there, you know. Hopefully that gives you a starting point. for shooting outdoors. Now when it comes to indoors, I need to do some experimentation. Maybe I'll do a video on that. But hopefully this helps you, gives you a starting point, and allows you to kind of just get out there and not worry about all of this stuff, and just try it. So I'm Chris with 2-Bit Da Vinci. I just want to tell you thank you so much for watching this video. You know, all the standard stuff. If you liked it, subscribe, thumbs up, all that good stuff. Here's the thing. If you have a comment, or you think I could do something better, or you liked the video, or you have questions, please leave a comment down below. And probably the thing that helps us out the most is clicking on those Amazon or affiliate links, because it does put a few extra pennies in our pocket to help us keep doing what we love. So until the next video, I'm Chris, and I will see you then. Bye-bye.